Hey, so you're thinking about moving to North Idaho and you're not sure if you should move to Post Falls or Hayden. Well, you're in luck. That's what today's video is all about. Let's go. If this is your first time to the channel, hit that subscribe button and tap the notifications bell so you can stay up to date on all of our latest content. Our real estate team, North Idaho Experience, we get calls, texts, and emails every single day from people just like you trying to learn more about North Idaho. So if you're thinking about moving right now or 12 months from now, give us a call, text, or email. We would love to help you make that smooth move right here to North Idaho. All right, so you're probably wondering why I'm doing a video comparing two vastly different sized cities in North Idaho. Well, the question comes up all the time for us because people are always looking generally between Coeur, Post Falls, Hayden, and Rathdrum, if they're kind of trying to stay in that Coeur area. So that's why today's video, I wanted to break down the differences between Post Falls and Hayden so you guys can make that informed decision for what works for your family. So Post Falls is the fastest growing city in North Idaho. Its current population is about 46,000 and it's about 15 square miles. That is where most of the new development is going right now. So it can make a lot of sense for families to end up there because price points tend to be lower than Hayden for sure, and Coeur d'Alene. On the flip side, Hayden population's about 15,000 and their square miles total is about 10 square miles. So much smaller. Both have waterfront. There are pros and cons to both. I'm gonna kind of dive into that as we continue on in this video. So let's talk about weather. And honestly, they're gonna be very similar. They're like 5 miles apart. So keep that in mind. I'm standing here at Quemlin Park. This is the Spokane River behind me, and that flows out of Lake Coeur d'Alene. The dam is right there that controls the height of the water level in Coeur d'Alene. This park is absolutely beautiful. It's, I don't know how many acres. It's a lot of acres. They have this whole beachfront right here, huge swimming area. It's super popular in the summertime. Nice forested pines behind the lovely camera woman there. And then off to my right is acres and acres of hiking trails. You can mountain bike there. There's some really good rock climbing there, believe it or not. And right across the bridge this is Spokane Street that runs into Post Falls, and there's a bunch of great restaurants and stuff over there. We'll get B-roll of that. While we're out here, I wanted to talk about weather. It is August right now. It's a little bit overcast, but it's nice and warm, beautiful day. So on average, both cities are gonna have summer temperatures in the 80s to low 90s. You'll get occasional days up over 100, but it's pretty rare. Wintertime, you're gonna have averages in the 20s and low 30s, occasionally getting a few below zero, but that is also rare. Rainfall's about 20 to 24 inches for both, and snowfall's about 40 to 48 inches for both. So pretty comparable there. Sunny days, you're sitting at about 174 sunny days a year for both. So like I said, weather's pretty similar. If that's gonna make your decision, I'd say it's a wash either way. All right, let's talk about proximity to things. So Post Falls, where we're at right now in Quemlin Park, we're about 25 to 30 minutes from Spokane International Airport. That is a big one for a lot of people if you have to travel. Spokane International is fantastic. It's super easy to get in and out of. Direct flights to a lot of places in the US and then international flights as well. From Hayden, you're gonna be about 45 minutes, depending where you end up in Hayden, of course, because you can get farther north, but about 45 minutes to Spokane International. Hayden to Coeur d'Alene is 10 to 15 minutes, also depending on where you're at, and that's to downtown Coeur d'Alene. And Post Falls, where we're at right now, to downtown Coeur d'Alene is probably about 15 minutes as well. So that'll kind of give you a little bit of reference on some of the bigger landmarks out there that we like to talk about in the video. So Post Falls is a very interesting mix. You've got waterfront homes, you've got acreage homes, you've got tons of different neighborhoods. So kind of, you can find whatever you're looking for in Post Falls itself. There's millworks that has condos, rentals, single family homes. It's kind of a little walkable community similar to Riverstone in Coeur d'Alene, if you're familiar with that. So it's kind of neat. It kind of helps highlight everything that they've got going on here. So as we're cruising, we got the camera pointed out the window. I'm gonna point out some of my favorite places along Spokane Street. We just crossed over the Spokane River, and coming up on the right is Post Falls Brewing Company. They've got some killer beer and a nice vibe. And then this place, the next one up, is Eats on Spokane Street. I'm super excited about this. It's a food truck court. They've got food inside as well. They've got coffee, cool vibe, healthier food inside. I love food truck courts because you can take the family there and everybody gets to pick out whatever they want. All right, next up on the right is Sawmill Grill. This is a favorite of ours. We like to take the kids here because it's just, I don't know, good burgers and stuff, that kind of food. And then up to the right of that, we're not gonna drive down there, I'm gonna keep going straight. Republic Tap House is just up around the corner as well. That's like a really cool, I don't know, it's probably a 100-year-old building. It looks like it was an old house, and then they converted it into a restaurant, so it's small and killer food in there. I love that spot. And once we get across the freeway, you're gonna hit the White House and Bunker Bar. That's a veteran-owned company right there, killer stuff. And then Terra, across the street from that, you've got a coffee shop. So basically what I'm trying to say is this little strip right here is kind of a hub. I guess you could call it downtown Post Falls because the city hall is right off the road here. But there's all these other little pockets in Post Falls that you might also call downtownish. So Post Falls is a lot more spread out than Hayden. I guess that's my point overall, is what I'm getting at. You've got multiple different hubs where you can kind of have as your spot, right? Like this Spokane Street is for sure one. Millworks is one. That 41 corridor is another one. Celtice. So you've got a lot of main areas here and a lot going on in Post Falls itself. All right, while we're cruising Spokane Street here in Post Falls, we're heading up farther north. We're gonna cruise by the golf course, Anchored Coffee, owned by Cassie Allen. We did a podcast with her a little while back, and the Red and Blue Foundation. She owns Anchored Coffee. That's up there, cool spot. So like I said, this strip is definitely a major thoroughfare, and a lot of cool activities and restaurants are along here. But while we're cruising, we're going to be cruising through some of the neighborhoods up here, and I figured it was a good time to talk about housing and rental prices. And like I said earlier, Post Falls is generally a good chunk lower than Hayden. Hayden just doesn't have as much geographical area. So when that happens, supply goes down, demand goes up, and it causes home prices to go up. Post Falls has a lot more room to grow, so you're able to get new neighborhoods here at a lower price point. On average, Hayden is about $500,000 to $600,000 for home price on average, and then Post Falls is about $450,000 to $500,000. So that's like the lower end home prices of a stick-built home on its own lot. For rent, you're both going to be looking at $1,400 to $1,800 a month. Like the road's closed. Welcome to summertime in North Idaho. Road construction is nonstop, but that's cool. So rentals, you're about $1,400 to $1,800 a month for like a smaller 2-bedroom. When you get into the like a family sized, 3-4 bedroom, you're going to be pushing $3,000 a month at least for one of those rentals. So hopefully that gives you kind of an idea of what you'd be looking at. We're cruising an older neighborhood in Post Falls right now, and like mature trees. The homes are hit or miss, but overall the feel is very safe and good spot for families to kids to ride bikes and stuff like that. But you're going to have that in both communities for sure. All right, we are here in Hayden. We're at Stoddard Park, which is also the site of the infamous Chompers Cafe, one of the best breakfast places. I know they do lunch there too, but the breakfast is killer. The cinnamon rolls are like boom. So if you're in town, check out Chompers. So Stoddard Park, we are on the kind of edge of Hayden. before it pops over to, I'm guessing, Post Falls. It's hard to tell the lines. You cross over a line and you don't know really which city you're in. It's not like easily delineated, other than some of them with some major roads. But somebody will give me shit about that. That's fine. So Stoddard Park, great location. I want to talk about schools here a little bit. And I'm always cautious about schools because if I don't have a kid that goes there, how can I really speak on what the quality of the school is? But most schools in North Idaho, particularly Hayden and Post Falls, they have a great school system. If you want to get further information about that, check out websites like niche.com. That is a good one because you'll get reviews from parents that have kids in those schools specifically, and that's the best way to get the information. I can tell you all day long they're good, but that's just me. I don't have kids that go to school there. So keep that in mind. But like I said, overall, North Idaho in general has great schools. You're not dealing with a lot of the nonsense that you're dealing with in other states. So that is a breath of fresh air for some families. And then we also have a great homeschool community here in North Idaho. And there are chartered schools, religious schools that you can check out as well. So there are a lot of options. If you go the homeschool route, you will easily find homeschool co-ops where you can get together with other parents and kind of share that workload of teaching the kids. There's tons of cool activities out here and sports, things like jiu-jitsu that have special classes just for homeschool kids, so you can get that in during the middle of the day when you're running school. So pretty cool options, I think. You know, depending on how you want to raise your kids, you can do it pretty much any way you want up here. All right, we're gonna talk about crime. I tried to pull some statistics and they were so skewed in my opinion that I'm just gonna go anecdotally on this because, you know, we have a lot of ties to the local police departments here. We know people in every department up here, and we have these conversations quite a bit about the reduction in Part 1 crimes that Eric talks about in a lot of our podcasts, things like that. So here's the deal. Hayden is a very small community. It's very tight-knit. It's very safe. You're gonna have when you look at national averages, we are well below the national average for violent crime and property crime up here. Post Falls is the same way. Post Falls is going to have a little bit more crime because it's such a big city, so much of a bigger city, and its proximity to I-90 and then Washington. So there is a little bit of spillover crime from Washington. Don't worry, your door's not gonna get kicked in by some drug maniac from the Washington side. That's not a reality here. It doesn't really happen. And that's partly because, you know, as we always say, an armed society is a polite society. Bad guys know that if they kick a door in Idaho, there's a large % chance that that homeowner is going to be armed and they're going to shoot back. So that tends to keep crime at a minimum here. But like I said, Post Falls is going to have a little bit more. Would I live in Post Falls still? Absolutely. It's still super safe. The police department's amazing. You have nothing to worry about there. So just keep that in mind when it comes to crime. And really, this is for all of North Idaho. It is much lower than the national averages. And that's violent crime and property crime. It's going to be much lower than all the national averages. So it is one of the safest places in the US to live. And I think that's partly due because North Idaho is a haven for retired law enforcement and veterans. There are 22,000 veterans in North Idaho alone. I don't know the number of retired cops, but it's damn near everybody you meet up here. So you walk around and you see people and you're like, that dude's probably armed and he looks like he can handle himself. So that's the kind of vibe I like. And if you like that, it's probably a good fit. All right, final thoughts. Hayden, Post Falls. Post Falls is a bigger city. It's growing fast. Home values are cheaper than Hayden. It still has a small town charm. It's got a huge diversity when it comes to living situations, waterfront, acreage, mountain views, farms, what else? Apartments, condos, single family, twin homes, all the shit, it's there. So, you know, it covers or checks a lot of boxes for many families out there. It's got a cool vibe. It's got a very outdoorsy vibe. You've got the whole Spokane River, so you've got access to water, and you can boat on it, you can paddleboard, you can swim, you can do all that stuff as well. There's great hiking. If you head over to Quemlin Park, you can go rock climbing. So it's got all of that stuff. It's got a few of the big box stores you might be looking for. The majority of them are gonna be in Coeur d'Alene, Hayden area. So remember that. But they're a very short drive away. So in that regard, Post Falls is pretty cool. Hayden, on the flip side, is a much smaller community, about a third the size. It's not gonna grow a whole lot more. It has a cool little downtown with a nice vibe. Lots of great stores here as well, great restaurants. You've got Hayden Lake, so you've got tons of recreational opportunities around the lake. Boating, swimming, all the stuff. It's my favorite lake up here in the Coeur d'Alene area. It's beautiful, it's not as crowded as Coeur d'Alene, and it doesn't get as windy as Coeur d'Alene. Then you've got access to the National Forest land behind Hayden Lake. So if you go up Lancaster and get behind Hayden Lake, you can go out there and recreate to your heart's content. You can hunt, you can shoot, hike, side by side, all the stuff. So in reality, like there's good comparisons between the two. It's really kind of comes down to, for a lot of people, it comes down to the value, the price of the homes. Can you afford it to live in Hayden? And the proximity and the lifestyle that you're looking for. They're similar, both of them. Post Falls has the edge where it's closer to more things. You know, you can jump over the border of Washington and go to Spokane if you want, or you can get to Coeur d'Alene, actually pretty much the same between either. So keeping that in mind, I don't know if that leaves you with more questions than answers. That's fine. You know how to get a hold of us. You can call, you can text, you can email, and we will connect you with one of our teammates and get those questions answered for you. We all have that common background, first responder and or veteran, and we love to serve. So we'd love to have those conversations. Really, we like to have them well in advance. So if you're thinking about it, even if it's a year out, give us a call. Don't meet us on the street and be like, yeah, you know, we were gonna call you guys, but we didn't, and we bought a house through somebody else. Don't do that. That's dirty. So take care of us. Hopefully you get value out of these videos. We enjoy doing them. And please check out our podcast as well. The podcast is on the same YouTube channel, and it is on all podcast audio platforms as well. That is one of our favorite things to do because it connects us with the amazing community here in North Idaho. So thank you guys. I appreciate you joining us on this journey between Post Falls and Hayden. I hope you got value out of it. We will catch you on the next video.